Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on a video. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today, we're going to talk about the entirety of episode 9. I want to go through the entire episode and really just dig deep into the episode. I'm going to go through each scene individually. I'm going to give my thoughts on everything from Shan and Deshawn's big fight to the split up and how that can affect the season, to the vote outs and all the crazy strategy, as well as that very confusing vote with Nasir going home. We're going to hit it all. But first, 72% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. As far as future videos, we're going to probably take a break for the next few days, but I'll be back on Sunday with our predictions and Power Rankings podcast, so check that one out. And if that's it, let's get right into the video. So before I really talk about specifically my thoughts on the video, I want to talk about like my overall view of the episode. So I see this episode is definitely a top 5 episode of the season so far. Considering that there's 9 episodes, what that means is that it's definitely in the top half for me. I think the split up in this episode did work out not terribly. I don't know if it worked out like great. Like, it could have been better. I feel like it could have been timed better. I feel like if they had saved it for an episode where there was a specific storyline that didn't work out, or like a kind of boring storyline, like last episode, for example, then they could have done it better then. Like last episode, if they had one person draw or like a bad rock, and then they like get put on the losing tribe or whatever, and then they both go to tribal. I feel like that really would have worked last episode. This episode, I actually wanted to see the Shan and Deshawn battle happen, but now that's been delayed basically a whole other episode, and it could be delayed even farther if maybe they make up or something. And so I do feel like this split did kind of get in the way of that storyline, coming to a head. But at the same time, I'm okay with it. Like, it's not like in a season like Fiji, where it was just like not the right time for it at all. It could have been a worse storyline, but I am a little confused on some of the specifics of the vote for Nasir, but we'll get to that later. And overall, just like the extra vote play and all that was very, very confusing. So to start out episode 9, we get kind of the aftermath of this last tribal council, where we get everyone coming back from tribal, and we get the Deshawn versus Shan little bickering fight, and it really isn't between them. It's basically with everybody but them. So Deshawn finds a few people, specifically I think it was Evie and I think Xander as well, and I think maybe Nasir as well, where he's just just talking about Chantel behind her back, and then Chantel grabs a few people and then also talks shit about Xander behind his back. And so it seems to be kind of just like a who can talk about who behind whose back competition here. I don't really know why they didn't just flesh it out here and have a conversation here, and instead they both just like wanted to be really, really petty about it. But that's what ended up happening. We do see a scene from Evie here where she's like, this is awesome for me. This is just creating chaos here. Like, this is really good for my game, because maybe we can start to flip the vote on the Power Alliance. And so Evie's obviously very excited about this, but Deshawn and Shan are definitely not. We also get some frustration from Deshawn about Heather's getting up at tribal and why that caused Deshawn a lot of stress. We can kind of see like Deshawn trying not to get mad at Heather, but at the same time like having no choice, because Heather did make such a stupid decision to get up from her seat at tribal and start the whole fiasco, which then caused the Shan and Deshawn like last straw fight. And so Deshawn definitely has a lot of frustration for Heather and what she did at the last tribal here, and it comes out when he kind of tells Heather like, I'm trying to be nice, but like, whoa, what were you thinking at tribal? It's at this point that Deshawn starts to talk to some people, and I forget if he says at this night or in the next morning, but he at some point he says like, I'm loosely aligned with this Power Alliance, and it really shows that Deshawn at this point is ready to flip. Maybe not this second, but he is in flipping mindset for sure, and he is not about the camp out strong mindset. He even goes as far to say that he's, quote, looking for a new alliance. And so that's like a big statement to make in a game where people can go talk to Shannon, tell her that. So Deshawn really does not give any you-know-whats right now. Deshawn is not happy, and it really shows through his actions and through the things that he's saying being so major and so important and big things to say in a game like Survivor, where anyone can like just go to Shan and say, hey, he said this thing or that thing. And so Deshaun seems very, very frustrated from this entire tribal, and really how much stress that it's causing him in Shan's relationship. The next morning, we actually get Shan and Deshaun's, I'm putting up air quotes for it right now, saying makeup, like it was their makeup, sort of, but not really. Shan apologizes to Deshaun, but Deshaun, well, actually, I think it was Deshaun giving a loose apology first, and then Shan like giving a pretty strong apology. But the thing is, her apology wasn't strong because she was kind of like going again how Shan always apologizes, going half-ass, saying, I'm sorry if I'm not looking at things to make sure that you feel good. It's like, just Shan, just say sorry. Like it's better than whatever the heck you're saying. Like I think she says something like, I'm sorry that I'm not making sure that the way I communicate is making you not feel bad. Like, it's like, what are you talking about, Shane? Just say sorry. And Deshaun sees right through this, and basically Deshaun's like, bruh, are you kidding me? And then on top of this, after they like have the little quote unquote makeup, they start to talking strategy, and Shan does exactly what Deshaun's been getting mad at her about. Like, she literally does it again. And basically, they're like talking about, we need to get this or this person out, and Shan's like, well, no, I want this person out. And Deshaun, it basically cuts to Deshaun in confessional being like, bro, we just went over this. And so Shan is really digging her own grave here as far as her and Deshaun's relationship just going down the drain. And it does seem like she just doesn't understand that what she's doing comes across very domineering and not pleasant to be around. So it seems like Deshaun is definitely done. Like, not done as far as like a 100% never talking to Shan again, but more done in a way where he's like, I'm just done with like you Shan, and your shenanigans. Yes, I did just say a very bad dad joke. But her shenanigans and her overall lack of respect for Deshaun's opinion. So it's at this point that Deshaun goes to Evie, and he's like, I like the way that our relationship works. And this is obviously in contrast to him and Shan's relationship, and how uneven it is, where Shan has all the power and really domineers over anything that he brings up, whereas Deshaun is having a very equal conversation and very equal relationship with Evie. Now, I will say this is kind of hypocritical on Deshaun's part, being that what Shan's doing to him, all the power that Shan is exerting on him, he has that same relationship with Evie, where if Evie wants to survive one more round, she'll do whatever Deshaun says. And so for Deshaun to be like I like our relationship, Evie. Like, it's not like Shan. No, it's exactly like Shan. It's just that you're the Shan in this situation. So it is kind of hypocritical, but at the same time, I can understand being hypocritical when you have someone like Shan driving you nuts all the time. It's at this point that we get like this whole camp out alliance like going off to talk individually, and we get a pretty long scene from Xander and Erica talking about how that solid 5, and now apparently Ricard is much more tight with this camp out alliance than we had originally thought. Originally we had thought that it was the camp out 4. It was the Danny, Liana, Deshaun, and Shan, but it seems like Shan's kind of pulled in Ricard tight into this alliance, because they refer to that alliance as this 5-person alliance, not a 4-person alliance, and Ricard going with them. And so, unless it was just coincidence that Ricard went with them this one time, it seems like Ricard has now solidified himself, in this Cookout alliance as a solid member, and really now it's an alliance of 5 here. The issue is that he is very expendable, because if Shan does want to, or if people want to flip on Shan, he could go. And so I do feel like, honestly, that Ricard is solid in this alliance, but it's not necessarily the best thing for him in the world, because of the fact that he's very collateral damage if that's a word. Because if people want to get Shan and weaken Shan, then they may come for him instead of going for Shan, because Shan has so many relationships, and taking out Shan would really shake up the game and cause almost too much chaos. But getting back to my point, Xander and Erica at this point say, hey, what, they are so blatant with their power in the game, that top 5 there. And they contemplate maybe getting the bottom 5 together, and the bottom 5 in this situation seems to be him, Erica, Heather, probably Nasir, and Evie. I don't think that's a group that would vote together, but it's interesting that they're at least thinking that way rather than trying to just get into the Power 5 there. So that is good of them to be thinking, hey, let's flip it on the Power 5 instead of like, Power 5, please make it a Power 6 and let me in. You know what I mean? This is when we cut to the challenge, and at the challenge, obviously, as super fans who follow the Survivor Twitter, we already knew this, but it was revealed at the challenge to the players that they were getting a double boot in this episode, but it's not like usual. It's something that they've done in the past in Island of the Isles. They did it in Fiji. They may have done it before as well in other seasons, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, they had done it in those seasons, and essentially it's where a tribe, usually of 10 people, usually splits up into 2, and those 2 cohorts of people go to tribal. Either one goes or both go to tribal separately. But the big thing that's been consistent about this twist is that they are separate from each other as far as like who is has the opportunity to vote for somebody else. It's only people in your own group, because the people in your own group are going to tribal with you, whereas in the people in the other group, it's basically like as if it's a swap for one round. It's basically like I called a split up, but you can call it a very temporary swap. Is really what it is, and so that's what we get, and we draw teams. And after we draw teams, we get this epic challenge. Now this challenge did appear in David vs. Goliath with Christian and Alec just having this amazing showdown. We didn't get as crazy of a showdown as what we got there, but it was a pretty cool showdown between Xander and Deshaun. Obviously, it was so intense. Now, they only went for like half an hour, but honestly, this half an hour seemed like almost as long as that 6-hour challenge that Christian was in, which really shows that how the editors made this challenge look sick. I mean, this challenge looked crazy. It also looked very excruciatingly painful, which I think is great, honestly, as a viewer, because it just really puts you in the environment that the players are also in, where it's like, this truly like hurts your body. Like, this is not like, oh, like, look, we're on TV hot. Like, no, this is a true like painful experience. And like the person who won this challenge really did earn it. And so we get this big showdown between Deshaun and Xander, who are both in the same cohort, and so they won the reward for staying for which cohort has a person that stays longer, and that was this little blue cohort, and basically they are both up there for immunity at this point. They're not up there for reward or anything, and we get like a half an hour showdown, and in the end Xander does win, with comments from Liana and Shan being like, I hate his face, which I think is super petty. I mean, I could have made a whole video just ranting about that, but obviously I think it's better to not give that sort of childish behavior attention. But yeah, I mean, obviously very, very childish. I can understand, like, she's 20 years old, and that's what 20-year-olds say, is like, I hate this, I hate that. I'm 16, I say that all the time. But like at the same time, it is like you're on TV, like, and I 100% get like whatever, like it's a reality TV show, move on. But at the same time, it's like, to say like I hate his face, it's less of like, oh, like that's so hateful, because I know that Liana doesn't genuinely hate Xander, but it's more of just like very immature thing to say. So after this challenge, obviously we see the cohort that won the beef stew, I guess it was, obviously enjoying that. We see a pretty gnarly burp from Xander, which I think deserves its own video. And so on Saturday, we'll be delving deep into that gnarly burp and really how it affected the. I'm just kidding. We don't have a whole video on the burp, although we probably should, with just how genius it really is. But all jokes aside, they obviously enjoy their reward. After this is when the strategy really starts to ramp up. So obviously, one part of the reward was that the winning tribe gets to stay on the Via Cana beach, and the losing tribe gets to go back to Ua. the word gets there is not really the right word there. Has to go back to the UA camp here. And so the UA camp people, those people are obviously not happy about that. We do see them start to strategize at this point. We end up getting Heather and Erica versus Shan and Ricard. This is really like the showdown here. And really, it's more like Ricard, Shan, and Nasir versus Heather and Erica. Because I guess Nasir's super close to Ricard and Shan. Who knew? I wish I had seen that in the edit, but again, I can complain all day about the edit and all that stuff. So Ricard kind of loosely wants to flip on Nasir by using Heather and Erica's votes. He wants Shan to come with him, but he really doesn't even need Shan to come with him. He could just flip on Shan here and vote with Heather and Erica, and then the vote would be a 3-2 vote against Nasir, with Heather, Erica, and Ricard voting for Nasir, and then Shan and Nasir voting for, I guess, Erica. Heather, because Erica had won immunity for this cohort. And so they wanted to go after Erica here, but they instead went after Heather here instead. And so we ended up getting basically it's a 3-2 situation, but one person in the three wants to flip and get out one person in that three, being Nasir. One, because Nasir is connected to Deshaun and Danny more, and then two, because Nasir has an idol, and they want to get rid of that like soon, like very, very, very soon. And then Shan really doesn't want to do this. Ricard comes to Shan. He's like, "Hey, do you want to do this? Like, do you want to use your extra vote in this situation possibly?" And Shan wants no part of it. Shan wants to go after Heather, and Ricard argues that, hey, Heather is not like a big threat. She has no idol or anything. Like she's not a person that we should be going after. And that's kind of where we leave off on that tribe. And then as far as the camp strategy from the other tribe here, which has Deshaun, Danny, and Liana on one side, with Xander and Evie on the other side. We have Evie immune, we have Xander immune here, and so Evie is the vulnerable one from this Xander and Evie like minority on this alliance. Not Zandy. Liana and Danny are very strong for the Camp Out Alliance, and Deshaun was strong until obviously this whole Shan thing kind of blew it up, and so Deshaun considers flipping to Xander and Evie and blindsiding Liana here. I believe there's only Xander's idol in play for this tribe, so there's not a lot of advantages left as far as like what can be played. Especially in this tribe, and so Xander may or may not play his idol for Evie, and if that's the case, someone from that power 3 that is obviously within the power 4. If once Shan comes back, then it comes back to a power 4. But someone with in this case, Camp Out Alliance would go home if Xander played his idol for Evie. The issue is that if Xander plays his idol for Evie, then he risks losing his idol forever. Even if they get through this tribal and blindside like a Liana here, then he has no idol, and then if he doesn't win next time, they'll probably vote him out here. So it is a tough choice. If he doesn't play his idol and then Evie stays, that's like the best case scenario, because then he has it for future tribals. And the worst case scenario is if he plays his idol and then they actually vote, like Deshaun flips with them, and he didn't even need to play it here. I guess the worst case scenario is he pulls an Eric Reichenbach, gives the immunity necklace to Evie, and then goes home. But then again, that's the really, really, really worst case scenario. But as I said, Deshaun is considering flipping here, but he just doesn't know if he wants to flip or if that's something that would benefit his game, because of the fact that flipping on this tribe, especially without Danny, is a big, big statement to Shan, because of the fact that if he flips with Danny, then that's like two very, very powerful players making a decision. If he doesn't flip with Danny, that's just him going out on a roll here, and that's not going to be good, especially if people take Shan's side in this Shan versus Deshaun fight that's upcoming. And if that's the case, then Deshaun really, really is screwed. So at this point, we go to tribal. Let's talk about the Nasir one first. That's the much more confusing tribal for sure. And so I guess in the end, there's not really much that happens at tribal. It's just more like Nasir being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that like Heather has to go," and like he everyone gets emotional, and all along it was actually going to be him getting blindsided, and so we get a vote, okay, and it turns out I guess Ricard got Shan to play the extra vote. Shan splits her extra vote, and you're asking what do you mean, Spencer? No, basically what happens is Shan puts one vote on Heather and her extra vote on Nasir. Don't ask me why. I'm still confused. I've discussed this on the live show that we did yesterday. I discussed this at great length in my own head. I've tried like looking up things, like looking up articles, like in interviews. I've got nothing. I have no idea why Shan did this, because if Shan doesn't use her extra vote there and doesn't throw a vote on Nasir, then it's still Ricard voting for Nasir, and then it's her voting for Heather, and then it's Nasir voting Heather, and then it's Erica and Heather voting Nasir. That's a 3-2 vote for Nasir. I don't understand what the issue was there. And if you're worried about Nasir playing an idol, there's still two votes on Heather in that situation where Heather goes. I mean, I guess maybe if she's afraid, maybe what it is that she's afraid that if Ricard flips his vote for Nasir, that's a three votes Nasir, and then Heather, Erica. And then Heather and Erica vote for Nasir as well, and then Shan votes for Heather along with Nasir, and then if Nasir plays his idol there, and then Heather and Erica pull a fast one there and vote for like a Shan or a Ricard, the Shan or Ricard votes would dictate the tribal, and so I guess maybe that's what she was afraid of, and so she threw an extra vote on Heather. But then again, why is this confusing? I, someone who is a big fan of the show, should never be this confused after like watching a tribal. Like, this should never be the case. This is the fault of the editors here. Explain this to me. Like, I know that you like think your audience is dumb here. We're not that dumb, I promise. Like the idea that they feel like they need to baby our audience by not telling us what's going on and why people are going home just shows how little respect they have for us. And then on top of that, obviously with all the woke stuff, it's even more disrespect from the editors and production. But again, getting back on topic, I'm so confused as to why Shan used this, because even if Erica and Heather pull a fast one and put 2 votes on... Oh, well, no, because even if they put 2 votes on like Shan or something, Shan and Nasir's votes for Heather would still be there, I think. And then that's a 2-2 split if Ricard's vote gets negated with the idol. And so then that's a 2-2 split with a revote, where I believe it's Erica, Ricard, and Nasir who vote again. And then Ricard and Nasir would then vote for Heather in that situation, sending Heather home. So there's no way that Shan and Ricard are going to get blindsided in this tribal. The only way that happens is if Nasir flips on them. So I really don't understand why Shan didn't play or didn't keep her advantage. Although I think Shan thought this whole thing out and was like, okay, this is just too much. I'm gonna play it safe and play the extra vote just to ensure that Heather would go home and that we wouldn't even have to rely on a revote or like a vote split here. And so I think it was honestly a safe move by her, although I do think she could have saved it for later on when she's going against Deshawn and there may be like one number that she can't flip. Then she could just use her extra vote here. But this was obviously a very confusing tribal. I'm sitting here like still really not like understanding what's going on, but that's kind of par for the course nowadays when you're watching Survivor. But yeah, and then we get the other tribal with Evie, Deshawn, Danny, Liana, and Sander. And at this tribal, it's really this whole vote all hinges on Deshawn flipping or Deshawn not flipping. And after all of this deliberation, after all of this, we see Deshawn not flip. So this whole episode, all of this Deshawn getting mad, all of this and that, all of this Deshawn saying things like, I'm looking for a new alliance, or Deshaun saying he's quote unquote loosely aligned with the Camp Out alliance and with Shan. And then all this happens, all this build up, and then he votes for Epi and he doesn't flip. That's why I'm confused. And if in his mind he's saying, well, I'll just wait till next vote to flip, flip it on Shan, like vote out like Ricard or just Shan herself. You won't have the numbers next vote because Shan and Ricard, that's already a solid 2. Then they probably pull in someone like an Erica maybe, and if they pull in Erica, they might be able to get Heather as well. That's already four people, and then that's one more person that they have to pull in here, or no, that one more person because it'll be final 8. That's pretty scary. Like the fact that that Shan is that close to having a majority on the tribe, just based on like a few people's like who have really close relationships with her. And then on top of that, Liana, I haven't even mentioned Liana here, and so for Deshaun to waste a vote like a person on the bottom who would have flipped to him in that Shan versus Deshaun civil war situation, I think Deshaun's not looking down the line, and I personally think that it's a very bad move and a very short-sighted move by Deshaun to do this, and so that's just my personal opinion. But Deshaun does not flip in this vote, and Evie goes home in this vote by a vote 3-2. So far this season, I'm definitely surprised. I feel like this season's issue is that there are some like tough episodes where it's just like there's not much there, but then there's great episodes. I feel like this is the first episode where I was like, this is a good episode. That's it. It's not great. It's not anything. Like I'd say maybe episode 5 and then this episode are the 2 good episodes. I'd say last episode was pretty subpar. I'd say episode 6 was trash. Episodes 2 and 3 were below average, and then like 1, 4, and 7 were all like great episodes. And so it's like I feel like this and episode 5 were the only 2 episodes where like I can genuinely like sit back and say, hey, like this was a pretty good vote, or it's a pretty good episode. I wouldn't say great, I wouldn't say subpar, I definitely wouldn't say bad, and I wouldn't say like legendary, like episode 7 for an example. It's just kind of like good, like it's just a good episode. And so I think that's all they needed for this episode. If they're gonna do a split, like when you do like a big twist like that, like splitting up the entire merge tribe, that's a gigantic twist that I feel like if you're going to do that twist, you are just hoping that it doesn't completely blow up the entire season. And honestly, nowadays with Survivor production just having all of this nonsense in the game, if a twist doesn't ruin the entire season, I'm pretty much satisfied with it. And so this didn't ruin the season by any means. It did kind of push back some storylines that could have been connected like right now, but instead we kind of have to wait a few more episodes or maybe like next episode, but we'll just have to see about that. None of this happens without you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm almost at 900 subs. We're going super fast. We're almost at 1K, and then I can make small little pennies off of this YouTube channel, so that's awesome. Again, I'm a crazy dude talking to a microphone, and you guys continue to click on every single video. I don't know why, but I'll keep making them if you guys keep liking them. Again, no content probably for the next 2 days, just so I can take a few days off and like have a social life. But I'll be back on Sunday with a podcast with Underdog, Skylander, maybe a special guest. We'll just have to see. Go check out the podcast on Spotify. I'm going to be posting the live recaps as well as the predictions and power rankings podcasts all on Spotify and eventually on Apple Podcasts as well. But go check out the any like live streams and or podcast will be on Spotify. So if you want to listen to it in the background on your phone, it's there too. Look up Survivor Spencer on Spotify and you'll be able to find it. So that's a little cool advancement here. We're only growing. We're close. If you're not sub. I mean, it's free. It's easy. Come on. And that's it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.